Admiral Zhao looked down at Earth from his massive command ship. The blue planet seemed so small, so vulnerable. His fleet of 10,000 Saurian warships had arrived in the Sol system 3 days ago, and the humans still had no idea what was coming. "Begin the transmission," he ordered. On Earth, it was just another Tuesday morning. John Miller sat at his desk in NASA headquarters, reviewing satellite data. At 45, the retired Navy SEAL had found a second career analyzing potential threats from space. Most days, it was just tracking asteroids and space debris. Today would be different. The first sign came when every electronic device on Earth received the same signal simultaneously. Phones, computers, televisions, radios, all showed the same message. A strange symbol followed by alien text that no human could read. "What the hell?" John muttered, staring at his screen. His phone buzzed with an urgent message from his boss. Within hours, John found himself in a secure room beneath the White House with the president and his advisors. Dr. Lisa Wright, a tall woman with short brown hair and intense eyes, was explaining what they knew so far. "The signal came from beyond our solar system," she said, pointing to a star map. "Actually, no, that's not right." She frowned at her tablet. "New data shows they're already here, in orbit around Earth." The room fell silent. The president's face paled. "How many?" "We've counted over 10,000 ships," Lisa replied. "Our satellites are detecting more arriving every hour." Suddenly, every screen in the room flickered, showing the face of something clearly not human. It had blue-gray skin, 4 eyes, and no visible nose. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English, "I am Admiral Zhao of the Saurian Empire. Your planet has been claimed as a resource world for our expanding civilization. Your primitive technology cannot hope to resist us. You have 72 hours to surrender control of your governments and natural resources. Those who cooperate will be allowed to live as productive members of our society. Those who resist will be eliminated." The transmission ended. The president slammed his fist on the table. "Options, people. I need options." The defense secretary shook his head. "Sir, we've got nothing that can fight something like this. Our most advanced jets couldn't even reach orbit, let alone battle an alien armada." John studied the images of the alien ships. Something about their formation bothered him. "They're positioning for a standard orbital bombardment," he said quietly. "I've seen similar tactics in military exercises." Lisa looked at him sharply. "You think we can fight them?" "I didn't say that," John replied. "But they're following predictable military doctrine. They think like soldiers, not like gods. That means they can be beaten." The president's phone rang. He answered, listened, then put it on speaker. "This is General Harris at NORAD. Sir, we're detecting energy readings from the alien ships. They're targeting military installations worldwide. They've just destroyed an unmanned listening post in Alaska as a demonstration." Outside the window, people were filling the streets, some panicking, others standing in shock looking at the sky. Through breaks in the clouds, enormous dark shapes could be seen hanging in the air. "Get me every world leader on a conference call," the president ordered. "And someone find out if Area 51 has been keeping secrets from me." John caught Lisa's eye across the table. She slid her tablet over to him, showing readings from the alien ships. "Their energy signatures," she whispered. "There's something familiar about them. I need access to the classified physics archives." As they left the meeting, chaos erupted across the globe. The alien ships became visible to everyone as they dropped below the cloud cover. Massive and dark, they hovered over major cities worldwide. Humanity had 72 hours to prepare for the end of life as they knew it, or so the Xorians thought. 24 hours after the Xorian ultimatum, John Miller stood in an elevator descending deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Lisa Wright stood beside him, clutching a folder marked Kila Sci-Fi D. AGGs. "How deep does this facility go?" John asked, watching the floor numbers continue to drop. "Deep enough to survive whatever those aliens might throw at us," Lisa replied. The elevator finally stopped at level 47. When the doors opened, John's jaw dropped. Before them stretched an enormous command center filled with military personnel from every nation on Earth. Giant screens displayed the positions of the Xorian ships. "Welcome to Aegis Command," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Susan Carter, a stern woman in her 50s wearing a uniform with no country's insignia. "Follow me. The council is waiting." Susan led them into a circular room where 24 world leaders sat around a table. "Dr. Wright, I understand you've made some discoveries," the U.S. president asked. Lisa opened her folder. "Yes, sir. The energy signatures from the Xorian ships match technology we've been studying since 1952. "Explain," Susan commanded. In 1952, an expedition to Antarctica discovered an alien craft buried in the ice. It wasn't Xorian. We believe it came from a civilization they conquered. Lisa placed photos on the table showing a silver disk being excavated from ice. "For 70 years, we've been reverse engineering its technology, and we haven't been doing it alone." The Russian president nodded. After the Cold War, this became the world's best-kept secret. Every major nation contributed scientists to the project. "But that's not all," Susan added. "Show them." She pressed a button, and the center of the table became a holographic display showing Earth. Tiny dots appeared all over the planet, in oceans, mountains, and deserts. "What am I looking at?" John asked. "Project Aegis," Susan replied. 500,000 warships hidden around the planet. Some underwater, some in mountain hangars, some disguised as ordinary buildings, plus another 100,000 on the far side of the moon. John stared in disbelief. "How did you build all this without anyone knowing?" "Black budgets from every nation," the Chinese president explained. 2% of the world's GDP for decades, hidden in plain sight. The International Space Station was just for show. Our real work happened in secret. "But why keep Earth seemingly defenseless?" John asked. The Indian Prime Minister smiled slightly. "Because, Captain Miller, if potential enemies believed we had advanced technology, they would attack before we could fully develop it. Our apparent weakness is our greatest protection." Susan brought up images of Earth's hidden fleet. The ships were sleek, with designs unlike anything humans had publicly created. "Our ships incorporate gravity drives, energy shields, and weapons systems based on the Antarctic discovery," she explained. "We've had 70 years to improve on the original designs. The Xorians think we're primitive because that's what we wanted everyone to think." "So when do we reveal our strength?" Lisa asked. "At the last possible moment," Susan replied. "Hour 71 of their ultimatum. They'll be complacent, believing our surrender is imminent. In the meantime," the British Prime Minister added, "we need to appear weak and frightened. Continue evacuation drills. Let them see panic." John studied the holographic display of Earth's hidden armada. "Even with 600,000 ships, we're still outnumbered." "Yes," Susan acknowledged, "but we have the element of surprise, and we'll be fighting for our home." As they finished speaking, an alert sounded. A technician rushed in. "The Xorians have destroyed our military base in Diego Garcia as another demonstration," he reported. 50 dead. The room fell silent. "Those will be the last Earth casualties they inflict," Susan said firmly. "Initiate Operation Thunderbolt. All fleet commanders on standby. We will not surrender our world." Outside, in cities across the planet, humans looked up at the massive alien ships with fear in their eyes. But deep underground, humanity prepared to reveal its true strength. Hour 48 of the ultimatum. Earth appeared to be preparing for surrender. In Washington, D.C., the American president sat at a large table, facing a holographic projection of Admiral Zhao. The Xorian commander's 4 eyes blinked slowly as he listened to Earth's supposed terms of capitulation. "We request that civilians be allowed to remain in their homes," the president said, his voice appropriately humble, and that Earth maintains some form of local government under Xorian supervision. Admiral Zhao waved a six-fingered hand dismissively. These terms are acceptable. Your cooperation will make the transition smoother for your people. Meanwhile, 5 miles beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Frank Daniels stood in the command center of Earth's largest hidden naval base. Around him, thousands of personnel prepared the fleet for launch. Massive hangar doors were being unsealed for the first time in decades. "Status report," Frank ordered, his voice calm despite the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "Pacific Fleet reports ready, sir," his second-in-command replied. "European, African, and Asian fleets are at 98% readiness. Lunar Fleet is fully prepared." Frank nodded. "And the shield system?" "Engineer Martinez reports final calibrations underway. It will be ready in time." Across the globe in a facility beneath Mount Fuji, Olivia Martinez worked frantically to activate Earth's planetary shield system. The technology was adapted from the Antarctic discovery, but scaled up to protect an entire planet. "Power flow stabilized," she reported to her team. "Emitter network online. We'll be ready for activation at hour 70. Olivia checked her watch. Less than 24 hours remained before humanity would reveal its true capabilities. In orbit, the Xorians detected none of this activity. Their scans showed only primitive satellites and space stations. They had begun targeted strikes on military installations, demonstrating their power while preparing for full occupation. John Miller and Lisa Wright had been assigned to a special unit tasked with infiltrating the Xorian command ship when the battle began. They trained with 50 elite soldiers from around the world. "Their ship architecture favors efficiency over security," Lisa explained, showing 3D models based on scans. "Once inside, we can reach their command center through these maintenance corridors." John studied the plans. "And you're sure our shields will protect us during boarding?" "The personal shields work on the same principle as our ship shields, just smaller," Lisa assured him. "They'll hold against Xorian weapons for about 30 minutes. "That'll have to be enough," John replied. In orbit, Admiral Zhao watched Earth with growing satisfaction. His sensors showed humans abandoning military bases and governments preparing transfer protocols. Everything indicated a planet ready to surrender. His second-in-command approached. "Sir, our advanced teams report humans gathering in religious buildings and homes. They appear to be saying farewell to their way of life." "As expected," Zhao replied. "Prepare occupation forces. At the 72-hour mark, we'll begin landing troops at their government centers." What the Xorians didn't realize was that the gatherings they detected were staged. Empty military bases were rigged with explosives. And deep beneath the surface, humanity's real military prepared to strike. At the 68-hour mark, Frank Daniels addressed the combined fleet commanders via secure channel. "In 3 hours, we reveal ourselves and fight for Earth," he said. "For generations, we've prepared for this moment. We've hidden our strength, allowing potential enemies to underestimate us. That deception ends today." Around the world, final preparations were made. Soldiers said goodbye to families who would be in protected underground shelters. Engineers checked systems that had never been tested in actual combat. As hour 70 approached, Admiral Zhao made a final check of Earth's military capabilities. "Pathetic," he told his officers. "A handful of crude nuclear weapons and primitive aircraft. This planet will be ours without firing a single primary weapon." The Xorians had no idea what was coming. Hour 71. 1 hour remained before the Xorian ultimatum expired. Admiral Zhao stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching Earth through the viewscreen. His staff had prepared the occupation plans, dividing the planet into resource extraction zones. The humans had sent their final surrender terms, which Zhao had modified slightly to demonstrate his dominance. "Send our acceptance of their surrender," Zhao ordered. "Begin landing preparations." On Earth, the president sat in the Aegis Command Center, surrounded by world leaders. A clock on the wall counted down the final minutes. "Send the activation code," he ordered. Susan Carter nodded and pressed her palm against a scanner. Authorization confirmed. Operation Thunderbolt is a go. Around the world, hidden doors began to open. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, enormous hangar doors slid apart, releasing columns of bubbles as the water drained from massive chambers. In the Himalayas, mountainsides opened to reveal launch bays. In the Amazon rainforest, what appeared to be natural terrain split apart as ships rose from underground bases. On the far side of the moon, 100,000 warships powered up their engines, hidden from Earth's view and from Xorian sensors. Admiral Frank Daniels stood on the bridge of the flagship Guardian, the largest vessel in Earth's fleet. "All ships report ready," his second-in-command announced. "Launch," Frank ordered. Across Earth, humanity's hidden fleet took to the skies. Ships burst from the oceans in massive columns of water. They emerged from mountain hideaways, desert bunkers, and polar ice caps. 500,000 warships, their hulls gleaming with technology beyond what the Xorians believed humans possessed. On his command ship, Admiral Zhao was first alerted by a junior officer. "Sir, we're detecting energy signatures, thousands of them, all over the planet." "What?" Zhao turned to the sensor display. The screen showed countless dots rising from Earth's surface. Impossible. The Xorian ships in orbit began to turn, reorienting their weapons as the first wave of Earth's fleet reached the upper atmosphere. In Washington, D.C., the president opened a channel to the Xorian command ship. "Admiral Zhao," he said, his tone no longer submissive, "allow me to present Earth's counteroffer." The view screen showed the president sitting confidently, surrounded by military officers. Behind him, displays showed Earth's massive fleet rising to meet the Xorians. "You have 1 hour to withdraw from our solar system," the president continued. "Otherwise, we will remove you by force." Zhao's 4 eyes widened in shock and rage. "This is impossible. Your species has no such technology. As you can see, your intelligence was flawed." The president replied calmly. "We've been preparing for this day for over 70 years. Olivia Martinez's voice came through the command center speakers. Planetary shield activated. A translucent blue barrier began to form in the upper atmosphere, protecting Earth from bombardment. Around the planet, humans watched in awe as the sky filled with ships. What had seemed like alien domination was revealed as humanity's finest hour. People poured into streets, pointing upward as Earth's defenders took position. "Look," a child shouted in New York City. "They're ours. Those ships are ours." On the lunar surface, 100,000 additional warships launched, moving to flank the Xorian fleet. Admiral Zhao slammed his fist onto the command console. This was a deception. "All ships, battle formation. Target their vessels and fire at will." The first shots of the battle flashed across Earth's orbit as Xorian energy weapons met Earth's shields. On the Guardian, Frank Daniels watched the Xorian fleet scramble to respond. "They thought we were defenseless," he said quietly. "That mistake will cost them everything." John Miller and his Special Forces team boarded their assault craft. "Time to visit Admiral Zhao personally," he told his squad as they prepared their weapons. In orbit above Earth, the two massive fleets engaged, lighting up the night sky with flashes visible to everyone below. The battle for Earth had begun. Space around Earth erupted in flashes of light as thousands of ships exchanged fire. The Xorian fleet, though surprised, responded with military precision, forming defensive clusters against Earth's vessels. "Push them back from the planet," Admiral Frank Daniels ordered from the Guardian's bridge. Earth ships moved in coordinated patterns, focusing fire on key Xorian vessels. On Earth, people watched through telescopes and on screens as bright explosions lit up the night sky. Some cheered with each flash, knowing it might represent a victory for their defenders. "Sir, we're taking heavy losses in Sector 4, reported Frank's tactical officer. "The Xorians are targeting our smaller vessels." Frank studied the battle map. "Redirect the Australian fleet to support. and have Lunar Squadron 7 hit their flank. The space battle spread across the solar system as ships maneuvered for advantage. Mars orbit became a secondary battlefield as Earth vessels drew some Saurian ships away from their homeworld. Lisa Wright worked frantically in her lab beneath the White House. "Their shield frequency adapts every 12 seconds, she told her team. "But there's a pattern. If we can predict the next shift, we can calibrate our weapons to penetrate." Her fingers flew across the keyboard, analyzing data from the ongoing battle. "There," she exclaimed, sending the shield frequency prediction algorithm to all Earth vessels. In orbit, John Miller's assault team approached the massive Saurian command ship. Their small craft weaved through the chaos of battle, using larger explosions as cover. 60 seconds to contact, the pilot announced. John checked his weapon and personal shield. The 20 soldiers with him did the same. "Remember," John said, "our objective is to reach the bridge and capture Admiral Joe if possible. This could end the battle without more bloodshed." Their craft shuddered as it took a glancing hit from Saurian defenses. Warning lights flashed red. "We're hit. Stabilizers failing." The pilot shouted, fighting the controls. "Get us close enough to board," John ordered. "That's all we need." The damaged craft limped toward the command ship's hull. At the last moment, the pilot fired reverse thrusters, bringing them to a rough stop against the Saurian vessel. "Magnetic clamps engage." "Cutting through now," said the team's engineer, activating a laser tool that sliced through the alien hull. Back on Earth, Olivia Martinez monitored the planetary shield as Saurian ships hammered it with weapons fire. "Shield at 68% capacity," she reported. "Multiple breach attempts detected." A technician rushed to her side. "Engineer Martinez, we've lost the Pacific generator node. Shield coverage is thinning over Asia." Olivia worked rapidly to reroute power. "Divert energy from the Atlantic grid. We need to hold until our fleets can push them back." In space, Earth's ships were proving their worth. Despite being individually smaller than the Saurian vessels, they were faster and more maneuverable. Lisa's shield frequency predictions allowed Earth weapons to occasionally penetrate Saurian defenses. Both sides suffered heavy losses. Burning wrecks of ships from both fleets drifted through space. Escape pods from damaged vessels streaked toward Earth or were collected by rescue ships. On the Saurian command ship, John's team fought their way through corridors, facing alien defenders with six-limbed bodies and energy weapons. "Push forward," John shouted as 2 of his soldiers fell to enemy fire. Their personal shields had failed after absorbing too many hits. Meanwhile, Frank received troubling news on the Guardian. "Admiral, Saurian reinforcements detected entering the solar system. At least 5,000 additional ships." Frank's face remained calm despite the dire report. "Have they joined the battle yet?" "Negative, sir. They're gathering at the edge of the system." "Then we still have time," Frank replied. "Order all ships to execute Protocol Omega. We need to end this before those reinforcements arrive." Protocol Omega was Earth's most desperate strategy, concentrating all firepower on the enemy command ship at any cost. As Earth ships began to converge on Admiral Joe's vessel, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Inside that very ship, John Miller and his remaining team members fought their way closer to the bridge, unaware that they had become the center of the entire battle strategy. Across the solar system, humanity's long-hidden strength was being tested like never before. John Miller and his 3 remaining team members reached the final corridor leading to the Saurian command bridge. 17 of their comrades had fallen during the fighting aboard the massive alien vessel. "Last stretch," John whispered, checking his weapons charge. "Ready?" The soldiers nodded grimly. They had come too far to turn back now. John triggered his last smoke grenade and tossed it into the corridor. As it filled with thick vapor, they charged forward, firing at the Saurian guards. 2 more of John's team fell to enemy fire before they reached the bridge doors. "Plant the charges," John ordered his last remaining teammate, a French Special Forces soldier named Paul. Before they could detonate the explosives, the doors slid open. 6 Xorian soldiers stood with weapons raised, and behind them stood Admiral Zhao himself. "Enough," the Admiral said in perfect English. "You've demonstrated remarkable courage, humans. Enter." Suspecting a trap but seeing no alternative, John and Paul cautiously stepped onto the bridge. Immediately, energy fields activated around them, freezing them in place. "Did you really think a handful of primitives could capture my command ship?" Zhao asked, circling them. "Though I admit, your species has surprised me today." On the main view screen, John could see the battle raging across the solar system. Earth ships were fighting valiantly, but the Xorian fleet was regrouping. And at the edge of the system, thousands of reinforcement vessels waited. Meanwhile, on Earth, Lisa Wright had made a breakthrough. Analyzing data from John's team's transmissions from inside the Xorian command ship, she detected an unusual energy pattern. "This can't be right," she muttered, rechecking her findings. According to these readings, the Xorians are operating their ships at reduced power, almost like they're conserving energy. She rushed to the command center where Susan Carter was coordinating Earth's defense. "The Xorians are running from something," Lisa announced, displaying her data. "Their ships show signs of extended travel with minimal maintenance. Their weapons are powerful, but their reserves are nearly depleted." Susan studied the information. "You're saying they're not an invasion force?" "They're refugees," Lisa concluded. "But refugees from what?" In orbit, the Guardian led Earth's fleet in a desperate push toward the Xorian command ship. Protocol Omega was in full effect, sacrificing ships to create an opening to Admiral Zhao's vessel. "Guardian taking heavy damage," reported Frank's tactical officer. "Hull breaches on decks 6 through 12. Maintain course," Frank ordered. "All ships focus fire on Sector 7 of the command ship." On the Xorian bridge, John watched as Admiral Zhao received reports of the concentrated attack. "Your people fight well," Zhao admitted, "but it won't matter. Even if you destroy my fleet, you cannot stop what's coming." "What are you talking about?" John asked. Zhao hesitated, then waved a hand. The view screen changed to show deep space beyond the solar system. A darkness moved there, not just the absence of light, but something that seemed to consume it. "The Void Swarm," Zhao said quietly. "They destroyed our homeworld 3 cycles ago. We've been fleeing across the galaxy, looking for resources and allies." "You call this looking for allies?" Paul spat. "You demanded our surrender." "Would you have believed me if I told you the truth?" Zhao asked. "Would you have shared your resources with strangers from the stars?" Before John could respond, the ship rocked violently. Earth's fleet had broken through the defenses. At that moment, Olivia Martinez activated her final protocol on Earth. The planetary shield shifted, sending a focused energy pulse toward the Xorian command ship. Lisa's calculations had identified a frequency that would disable Xorian systems without destroying the vessel. The lights on the bridge flickered and died. The energy fields holding John and Paul disappeared. In the darkness, Admiral Zhao's 4 eyes glowed faintly. "We're all dead now," he whispered. "The swarm is coming, and neither of our civilizations can face it alone." As emergency lighting activated, John made a decision that would change the course of 2 civilizations. "Then perhaps," he said, lowering his weapon, "we should stop fighting each other." John held his breath as Admiral Zhao considered his words. Outside, Earth and Xorian ships continued their deadly dance across the solar system. "You would suggest alliance?" Zhao finally asked. "After we attack your world?" "I'm suggesting survival," John replied firmly. "For both our species." Paul looked at John like he'd lost his mind. "Captain, these aliens just tried to conquer Earth. And we just revealed we've been hiding our technology and building warships for decades," John countered. "Neither side has clean hands here." A Xorian officer burst onto the bridge. "Admiral, Earth forces have breached our defenses. Their main fleet is approaching our position. John activated his communication device. "This is Captain John Miller to Admiral Daniels. Hold your fire. I repeat, hold your fire. I'm on the Xorian command ship with Admiral Zhao. We need to establish communication." After a tense moment, Frank's voice came through. "Captain Miller, explain your situation." "Sir, the Xorians aren't conquerors. They're refugees. There's something coming that threatens both our species. We need to cease hostilities immediately." On Earth, in the command center, Lisa's analysis was being confirmed by other scientists. Susan Carter looked at the president, who nodded grimly. "All Earth vessels, cease fire and maintain positions," Susan ordered. "Repeat, cease fire." Gradually, the flashes of weapons fire diminished across space. Ships from both sides drifted, damaged but no longer attacking. 3 hours later, an unprecedented meeting took place aboard the Guardian. Admiral Zhao and 3 Xorian commanders faced Earth's leaders across a conference table. "The Void Swarm destroyed our homeworld and 17 colony planets," Zhao explained, showing recordings of darkness moving among stars, consuming everything in its path. "We've been running for 3 years, looking for a defensible position. Why didn't you just ask for help?" Olivia Martins demanded. "The last 6 civilizations we encountered either attacked us or refused aid," a female Xorian commander replied. "We learned that strength is the only language understood across the galaxy." "Well, you found strength here," Frank said firmly. "But you also found something else. People willing to listen once the shooting stops." The president leaned forward. "What exactly is this Void Swarm?" "We don't fully understand them," Zhao admitted. "They appear to be a collective consciousness that converts matter to energy. They consume everything: planets, stars, even the space between them." Lisa studied the Xorian data. "According to these calculations, the swarm will reach our solar system in approximately 8 months." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "Our fleets alone cannot stop them," Zhao said. "Neither can yours. But together we might have a chance," John finished. 1 week later, on a clear morning, crowds gathered in major cities worldwide to witness a historic event. The largest Xorian ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing in a specially prepared area outside the United Nations headquarters. Admiral Zhao walked down a ramp, followed by his commanders. Earth's leaders waited to greet them. Billions watched on screens across the planet as the president and Zhao signed the Earth-Xorian Defense Pact. "Today marks a new chapter for both our peoples," the president announced. "From enemies to allies in the face of a common threat." Work began immediately. Xorian technology complemented Earth's innovations. Joint fleet exercises replaced battle. Shipyards on Earth and in orbit worked around the clock to repair damaged vessels and build new ones. 2 months later, John Miller stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Joint Command Ship Defender. Beside him stood Zhao, now his co-commander. "Our advanced scouts report the swarm has changed course," Zhao said. "They're moving faster than expected." "Then we'll be ready sooner than expected," John replied confidently. Below them, in the massive hangar bay, thousands of ships bearing both Earth and Xorian markings prepared for departure. The combined fleet now numbered over 800,000 vessels, the largest fighting force ever assembled in this part of the galaxy. "They thought Earth was defenseless," John said quietly. "So did you. The greatest deception in warfare is appearing weak when you are strong," Zhao replied. "Your people mastered that art." "And now," John said, watching as the first ships began to launch, "we'll see if together we've mastered the art of victory." The combined fleet rose from Earth, no longer hiding, no longer divided. Humanity and Xorians, once enemies, now united against the darkness approaching from the stars. The story outline was for 7 parts, but I'd be happy to write an additional part 8 to continue the narrative. 6 months after the Alliance formed, the Earth-Xorian fleet waited at the edge of the solar system. Scout ships monitored the approaching Void Swarm, which appeared as a massive shadow moving between the stars, consuming everything in its path. On the bridge of the Defender, John Miller and Admiral Joe studied the tactical displays. Their combined fleet of 800,000 ships had been joined by vessels from 3 other species who had heard of the alliance and sought protection. "The swarm has increased speed," reported Lisa Wright, now Chief Science Officer of the Joint Fleet. "First contact in 12 hours. "Are the spear platforms in position?" John asked. Olivia Martinez, who had been promoted to lead the Special Weapons Division, nodded. "All 200 platforms are online and charge. If your calculations are correct, Admiral Joe, the synchronized energy burst should disrupt the swarm's collective consciousness." "If they are correct," Joe said quietly. His 4 eyes blinked slowly, a sign of concern John had learned to recognize. No one has ever successfully fought the swarm before. Frank Daniels entered the bridge, his uniform now bearing both Earth and Saurian insignia. "All fleet commanders report ready. The evacuation of the outer colonies is complete." In the months since the alliance, humans had helped Saurian refugees settle on Mars and Venus, which had been rapidly terraformed using combined technology. In return, the Saurians had shared advanced medical knowledge that had eliminated most human diseases. "Send the final message to Earth," John ordered. On their homeworld, billions watched as the president addressed the united planet. "Today our defenders face the greatest threat our species has ever known. They fight not just for humanity, but for all life in our galaxy." As the speech continued, John moved to a private viewing area. Paul joined him there, now serving as security chief. "Do you think we can win?" Paul asked bluntly. John stared at the approaching darkness. "I think we have no choice but to try." At the 6-hour mark, the void swarm sent up tendrils of darkness, like fingers reaching toward the fleet. Several scout ships were caught and simply vanished, consumed by the blackness. "It's aware of us," Lisa reported, studying sensor readings. "The swarm is adjusting its approach. It learns quickly," Joe confirmed. "We must initiate the attack before it adapts further." John nodded. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Spear platforms to primary firing positions." The enormous fleet moved with precision that would have been impossible months earlier. Earth ships, faster and more maneuverable, took forward positions. Larger Saurian vessels formed a second line, their powerful weapons ready. 3 hours to optimal firing range," Olivia announced. On Earth, Susan Carter supervised the activation of the planetary shield. If the fleet failed, it would be the last line of defense. "Remember when they thought we were defenseless?" she asked the president, who stood beside her in the command center. "That misconception saved us," he replied. "Without our hidden fleet, we would never have survived long enough to form this alliance." In space, the void swarm accelerated suddenly, catching the front line of ships by surprise. Dozens were consumed instantly. "It's attacking prematurely," Frank shouted. "All ships, fall back to secondary positions." John gripped the command rail. "Activate the spear platforms now." "But we're not at optimal range," Olivia protested. "Now, Olivia, we won't get another chance." The 200 massive platforms, each the size of a small moon, began to glow with blue energy. The power drawn from nearby stars channeled through specialized crystals provided by the Xordians. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. Olivia pressed the activation control. 200 beams of concentrated energy shot forward, converging at the heart of the swarm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pulse of light erupted from the impact point, rippling through the darkness. The swarm shuddered visibly. Pieces of it began to break apart, dissolving into normal space. "It's working," Lisa exclaimed. "The collective consciousness is fragmenting." "All ships, advance and fire," John ordered. "Target the fragments before they can reform." The combined fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. For the first time in recorded history, the void swarm retreated. On the Defender's bridge, humans and Saurians worked side by side, No longer enemies, but comrades fighting for their shared future. The battle for survival had just begun, but together, they had already accomplished the impossible.